I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Education for July 11th, 2022. Roll call, please.
Mr. Booth?
Here.
Mrs. Marks?
Here.
Mrs. McVeigh? Mr. Schmidt? Mr. Zinnerman?
Here.
Mrs. Havikhorst?
Here.
Mr. Bosch?
Here.
5 present.
Thank you. Ashanti and Jim both had conflicts tonight that were unavoidable for them. We have approval of minutes from the regular board meeting of June 13th, 2022. Are there any additions or corrections to that set of minutes? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have future dates.
Hard to believe we are 6 weeks from the start of school as of today. So a staff report 6 weeks from today. So August 15th is our new staff orientation. That's the week before. That's 5 weeks from today. Teachers come on the 22nd and then students on August 24th. So not too long and we will have kiddos back in the building.
Good deal. All right, thank you. Any other dates that anyone needs to know? Okay. Any presentations tonight? And we have not had any questions from the audience at our previous meeting, so we don't have any board response. Any audience participation tonight? Anyone here to address the board on any items that are not on tonight's agenda? Okay. Any board members have any reports?
Yeah, the financing, F&P, the Finance and Property Committee, has had a couple meetings since our last board meeting for the purpose of talking about the resolution that is, or it's action agenda item 8B, which is a resolution to increase the limiting rate. So we'll talk about that further when we get there.
Great,
I don't know,
thank you.
Ron or Deb, if you have anything to add to that?
Sums it up.
Good job.
Anyone else? Okay. Superintendent's report.
Yes, thank you. So, several items. Registration update. So, as I said, the school starts 6 weeks from Wednesday. We just ran the numbers today. Of all the students who are returning from last year, 65%, 2/3, have submitted applications. Only 65%. Great job for those 2/3, but we still have a lot of kiddos we need to find. So 29% of our families who we are expecting to be here, meaning they were here last year, have not even started that application. So we have to get that application filled out online. We want to get our kids here started, ready to go on the first day of school. Then we have another 6% who have started the application, but it's been put on hold for some type of reason. So for our families, just so you're clear, once it has been approved in the online system, you will receive an email that says your application is approved. Unless you, or if you have not received that email confirmation, assume something has happened and your child still needs to be registered. So again, right now, 65% of our kids that we're expecting have filled out that application, but we're still missing 30% we haven't even heard from. So please get that done as soon as possible. Construction update. If you've driven around the community and seen any of our buildings, you notice construction sites at all three. Just a quick update. Willow, big addition in the back is a mobile unit, which rolled in 5 different pieces, and now it is 1. So it's kind of interesting to watch that process happen, but they're doing electric and plumbing. We expect that to be ready for the start of school. Churchill, they have dug the big hole on the 3rd grade wing where the addition is going, so you can see the foundation work that is being started there. And then at all 3 buildings, we are having unit work done. So all the old units, some of which are 50, even 60 years old, have been taken out in preparation for the new units. And unfortunately, delays are typically the name of the game when it comes to construction, but we actually got good news today. 20 of our units arrived. And they weren't expected to be shipped until mid-August.
Yes.
So 20 are here. That's a great start. So we're excited about that. We'll be able to get those installations done.
Prime service and that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So getting ready for Prime Day. Prime Day is tomorrow. So good work with the construction, but a beehive of activity on all 3 campuses. As far as COVID, clearly it is still with us. You turn on the news and we keep having variants that keep rearing their ugly heads. So we are in contact. I just attended a webinar earlier this week with IDPH as far as their latest guidance. So we are in the process right now of finalizing what our plans look like for the school year. And at this point, we do intend to do shield testing again. We weren't sure whether or not the state would provide that free testing, and sure enough, they are. They're going to provide it for the entire 22-23 school year. So we're excited to be able to take advantage of that again. But we'll be releasing details of all of our COVID protocols here within a week or two. As far as staffing, our principals have done a wonderful job of going out and finding high-quality people to join District 153. So we're excited about that. There's still a few positions that are open and posted on our website, but for the most part, we have been able to find people and have those positions filled well in advance of the start of school. And before we talk about the referendum, Melissa, Ms. Lawson from Willow School, anything you'd like to add about Willow happening, staffing, or otherwise?
We are very excited that we found a nurse.
That is big news. We have a nurse at Willow School, yes.
And also that our former nurse is willing to come in and guide her as well down the line when she's able. Watching the construction process has been very informative for someone who has no idea how any of that works. It's been very interesting. The one thing I will say is that the Gilbane, who I believe is the overseer of all of the projects, have been very receptive to our observations, any of our concerns, have done a great job of explaining it at a level that even I can understand. So it's been really neat to kind of see it all come together.
Very good, thank you. One of the nice things, Gilbane is a construction manager, so basically they're the company that is on site overseeing all the work, and it's a really, really nice thing to have a construction manager. Some districts, they hire the architects to do the planning, they get the bids out, they hire the contractors, and it's the school's responsibility to try to monitor that, which is really, really cumbersome and also not the best idea when we're not construction people, we're not engineers. So it's great to have Gilbane be on site and be able to help us with that. Ms. Mandy Souza, Student Support Services, anything you would like to add?
If you can hear me okay. Everything's going well. We're working on our grant right now, and that should be done pretty soon. Dr. Gibson and I tag team on that particular component. And then just getting ready for whatever training that we're going to be doing during the school year. I'm very excited that we have most of our special education staff trained in Orton Gillingham reading program. I also went through the training myself. It is amazing and what we all call a game changer. So we'll see how all that rolls out this year. So very excited.
Very good, thank you. And then the final point that I wanted to talk about, which as Mr. Bosch mentioned earlier, is an action item for us later on, is a referendum. So tonight I am asking that the board approve a resolution to place a referendum on the ballot in November for our community to provide support for our schools. So 6 or 7 years ago, 2016, so 6 years ago, was our last referendum, and at that time we had said we need the money in order to be able to continue the great services that we offer. And we also said at that time that in 6 or 7 years we would need to come back for another referendum. So we are exactly where we promised to be at this time. And we feel we have a very, very compelling argument to make as to what we provide to our families, first and foremost, the quality of service that we provide to our families and students, but also there's some real revenue challenges that we face. And so we're at that point where we have what we feel is a permanent solution to the structural deficits that we have had for years and years and years. So we've had 2 referendums, 2011 and 2016, and in order to stop the cycle of coming back every 5 to 7 years to ask for additional money, we feel we have an opportunity to get a permanent fix. And so we're excited about that. I know there's a lot of details, a lot of questions that people will have, and we are well prepared to answer that. Like I said, I think we have a very good story to share. But I know there's been numerous conversations with F&P, a lot of details with the three individuals to my left. Ron, Deb, and Alex have been integral to that. Dr. Gibson, our business manager who's here, has been an integral part of that. So we're excited to begin this process. And like I said, we feel we have a very, very great product to offer to our families, but it does require revenue in order to do so.
Great. And we will again be talking about that more very soon. Okay. We have several consent agenda items tonight, and I'm going to ask us to move the personnel report item 7B to the action agenda item list. So we have, the first thing is to authorize the chief school business official to pay the usual and customary bills for August 2022. Any questions? Great. Then the second thing is to change the date for the regular February board meeting. That board meeting was scheduled on Lincoln's birthday, which is a school holiday. So we are moving it to
February 6th.
February 6th, the week before. And then item D is to terminate the lease agreement with the HF Park District for the green space north of Willow School.
So I'll just comment on that briefly. The park that is immediately north of Willow School, where Willow Hill is, the infamous sledding hill, that is school district property, which the park district and the school district entered into an intergovernmental agreement decades ago. And the park district has really maintained that and used that. They no longer have a need for the space. And so they approached us, and we both agreed that it would be good to have the district take ownership of that. I mean, we've always had ownership, but basically end the intergovernmental agreement before the time on the original document. So we, as of July 1st, assuming you approve this, have assumed that property again.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, just wanted to buy out.
I just wanted
One
to,
parcel of grass.
right, I just want to reassure parents there will still be sledding.
Yeah.
Sledding will still happen on Willow Hill.
It is a nice piece of land immediately adjacent to our property, and so to have something like that in the middle of a pretty much a landlocked community is nice.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda items as presented in items 10A, 10C, and 10D.
Is there a second?
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bosch?
Yes.
Mr. Zinnerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Havenhorst?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Mrs. Marks?
Yes.
All ayes.
Motion carries. And we have several action agenda items, so we're going to start with the personnel report from the consent agenda. And Dr. McAllister.
Yes, the personnel, you can see several names listed there, people that we are recommending for employment. Employment's coming later. These are individuals, resignations, long-term subs, reassignments, etc. I'd also like to point out the addition of a new position for our technology department. When we went one-to-one immediately as a result of COVID in spring of 2020, that put a lot of extra burden responsibilities onto a tech department that is fairly small for a district with 3 buildings and 1,800, 1,900 students. So we're recommending the addition of one position, entry-level tech position, to be able to handle some of the duties that have arisen as a result of that.
Okay, any questions on the personnel report? Is there a motion to approve?
On the recommendation of the district superintendent of the Board of Education, approve the personnel report as presented.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Zinnerman?
Abstain?
Mrs. Havenhorst?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Mr. Bosch?
Yes.
Mrs. Marks?
Yes.
4 ayes.
Motion carries. All right. Item 8A is to approve the second payment of June 2022 bills and the first payment of July 2022 bills. Are there any questions on the bills? Is there a motion to approve?
Moved upon the recommendation of the chief school business official that the Board of Education authorize the second payment of June 2022 bills and the first payment of July 2022 bills in an amount not to exceed $5,446,675.31.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Hatterhorst?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Mr. Bosch?
Yes.
Mrs. Marks?
Yes.
All ayes.
Motion carries. Item 8B is to approve a resolution to approve submission of limiting rate increase proposition for November 8, 2022 general election. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot that I can speak and will be speaking over the next several months, but I know there's, like you said, several of our committee members who have been integral to this conversation, so.
Okay, I guess I'll start. So, as I mentioned earlier, the Finance and Property Committee, well, since I've been on the board for just over a decade, I know one of the things we've been operating under is a structural deficit. And it's a no structural deficit. And, we've had 2 referendums in the past, like Dr. McAllister mentioned, 2011 and 2016. And in both of those referendums, there were working cash bond referendums, which allowed us to plus up our reserves and allowed us to continue operating going forward. So during both of those referendums, we mentioned that it was just a temporary fix to our situation. In 2011, we see it would come back in 5 to 7 years, which we did. In 2016, we did the same thing, and we said we would come back. We would need to come back for another referendum, and here we are. 6 years since our last referendum. And so, I think during FNP, during FNP in particular, within the last couple of months or so, we've been talking about what some of our options are. And one of the things that we are, we don't take this decision lightly by any means at all. We think it's an important decision and something that we weighed all of our options for the resolution that's on the agenda item. And I think the solution, one of the good things about it, like Dr. McAllister mentioned, is that this time around we are able to present a permanent solution. So we won't, we're going to put this referendum out there for the voters to vote on, and this is a permanent solution, so we would not need to come back in another 5 to 7 years. This would be something that would last for hopefully decades, and would allow us to address our revenue stream, our revenue stream, shortcoming, for all practical purposes, since we have a structural deficit, and also put the district on, I think, a better financial path going forward, not only for this board, but also for future boards, and also for future community members and students going forward. So.
A couple things I would add to that is that during both of the last referendums, we were challenged by many of our constituents to find a permanent fix. Like, can't you guys do something so you don't have to keep coming back to us? And we've done that now. So that's great. That will let us rest for a while and just know it's all taken care of. I would also say that the citizens of Homewood, the people who have children in our schools, have come to expect and demand a certain level of education and service. And we need this in order to continue down that path.
Yeah, just to echo, prior to the economic condition now, the consumer price index, inflationary rate that we have, we were already challenging maintaining, retaining key talent in our district. So this wasn't just a year ago, 2 years ago. It's been a constant struggle. If we were a publicly owned company, it probably would be cost passed down to the customer. There would be reduction in staff and so many different things. And I really applaud this district, understanding from being on the FNP committee how we've been able to maintain a level of service in this community is phenomenal, which also is the reason why a lot of realtors are bringing people to this community, and it's because of the quality of service. So there's a downstream impact to this. And I think this also, Dr. McAllister, allows us to provide greater clarity in regards to how the schools are funded, which continues to be a lot of urban legends out there. And so the fact that we do have an opportunity to have a permanent solution with the great staff that we have, we can also continue to be a competitive district where it's a destination. So.
And I want to add that there is no question we have an excellent district. And we are the envy of most of the districts, if not all of them around us. But to maintain that, we have to be able to afford it. And that is why this referendum will be on the ballot in November. There's never a good time to ask for more money from the community. And every time we've done this, we've thought this is a terrible time to be asking. And I think we could say that again, this is a terrible time to be asking. But it would be an even worse time to tell children we cannot provide them with the education that they so deserve. And it would be an even worse time to tell parents we can't do the things for your children that we have been known to do all along. And it would be a terrible time to tell our teachers we can no longer have the class sizes that allow you to do what you do so well. So while it might not be the best time, it would be an even worse time to not do it. And one of the things that I always look forward to when we do a referendum is it does give us a chance to get out and talk about all of the good things we're doing and to listen to not only our families, but people in the community who no longer have children in the district, who are passionate about our schools and are passionate about keeping them good for future generations. And that's exactly what this referendum will do. It will keep our schools excellent for future generations. So we've got a lot more to talk about as we get from here to November. But I'm excited. I'm excited that we finally have a permanent solution that we can take advantage of, because we have been looking for something like this for a long time.
Yeah, I'll just, the only thing I'll add regarding the financial situation of the district is it really is as simple as a household budget that has revenues and expenditures. And we spend to provide the best education we possibly can for our kids. The state has a formula that they use, and state funding, evidence-based funding, you may have heard in the news, is based on that formula. But just to put it in perspective, if you take all the variables that the state says we need to provide an A+ education to our kids, and you say that that costs, for simplicity, $1, we receive in local revenue 64 cents. We are in the top, what is called Tier 1 of evidence-based funding, which are the lowest funded districts in the state. We are in that top quartile, or if you want to think of it a different way, the worst quartile, right? We are the most poorly funded, okay? So if we spend $1 to provide an A+ education to our families, and we're only receiving 64 cents, then the 36 cents is basically what we have to make up. And so that is the gap that we're trying to close. And then the revenue, revenue is controlled by two things. It's controlled by local property values, and it's controlled by tax rates. Local property values, we don't have control over. It's assessed at the county level, and they tell us. So what we're asking for in this case is that tax rate. We're seeking an increase in that tax rate. So, like I said, a lot of details yet to come, and there'll be a lot of activity, and I'm really looking forward to getting out and explaining, because it's not an easy thing for people to understand. School finance is not an easy thing. But I'm excited to share our story, and I think we have a very, very compelling argument as to why this is needed for our families.
And I just want to add one other thing. The last time that we did a limiting rate increase was in 1992. So,
30 years.
30 years, yeah, 30 years. All right, anything else? Any other questions from the board or the audience? Is there a motion to approve?
Moved upon the recommendation of the superintendent and the Finance and Property Committee that the Board of Education approve the resolution for the submission of a limiting rate increase proposition for the November 8th general election.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Havenhorst,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Mr. Bosch,
Yes.
Mr. Zinnerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Marks.
Yes.
All ayes.
Motion carries. We have approval of lease agreement with Speed.
Yes, as we've done the last several years, we have a classroom that we lease to Speed District 802. Those students have been in our building. They take part in some of our classes. We try to get them incorporated as much as possible. Some of those students are Homewood 153 residents, and others are just part of the cooperative. But in the 5 or 6 years that we've leased that space, we have had 0 issues. It's been a great relationship with Speed, and we're happy to have them back.
Great. Any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
Moved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approve the lease agreement with Speed for the use of one classroom at James Hart School for the 2022-2023 school year for a payment of $12,000.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Mr. Bosch,
Yes.
Mr. Zinnerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Havenhorst,
Yes.
Mrs. Marks.
Yes.
All ayes.
Motion carries. We have employment.
Yes, and on the employment report, you can see the names of all the people we are excited to welcome into our district, including, as Ms. Lawson pointed out, a nurse at Willow. The nurse positions are really, really difficult to fill. We did fill one at Churchill last year due to a retirement, and again, a retirement this year at Willow. So we're proud and excited to be able to welcome Bethany Long into the nurse's position, but also several great staff members. I've had the pleasure of meeting all of them in the interview process, so we're excited to have them join our district.
Great, thank you. And I do want to mention that I read through every single resume and was very impressed with the experiences that this group of people have already had and what they'll be bringing to our district. I'm looking forward to meeting them. All right, is there a motion to approve?
Moved upon the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education approve the employment of Alma Gonzalez effective July 5th, 2022, and Bethany Long, Deontay Washington, Elizabeth Houston, Jasmine McDonald, Cameron Morgan, LaShonta Smith, Zania Gaines, Henry Stutley III, and Stacy Harvey effective August 22nd, 2022, and Fernando Prado effective August 24th, 2022, upon the terms recommended by the superintendent, conditioned only upon receipt of a satisfactory criminal background report and upon receipt no later than August 1st, 2022, of evidence of proper legal qualifications for the position to be filled.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bosch,
Yes.
Mr. Zinnerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Havenhorst,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Mrs. Marks.
Yes.
All ayes.
Motion carries. Any discussion items tonight? All right, any written communication to the board?
No, ma'am.
All righty, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, I'm not opposed. Is anyone opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Kelly doesn't want the meeting to end.